Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Adventures in Fast Food and Retail. First up today we have 3 different people in a 5-hour shift. Are people not embarrassed by their behavior anymore? No, they're not. They're really not. Haven't been for quite a few years now. By Gullible Tax 6100. So today was rough. For background, basically I work at a drive-through coffee shop where we take orders face to face. My job has 2 lanes for cars to come through. You can probably guess where I work, but on to the story. I'd also like to preface I'm a young girl, not minor young, but I'm small, and I could honestly probably pass for one. And I ask, like the drink? This guy, at least in his early 70s, rolls up in the lane I'm working and immediately says, "Do you sell tall blondes?" And I ask, like the drink? We sell a drink called the Blondie, and I know Starbucks sells a tall size, and he says, "Oh, is that what it is?" And I just kind of paused, and then I start taking his order, and when I ask what I can get for him, he says Jack Daniels. And I laugh it off and ask him again, and he starts naming a bunch of cocktails with sexual names. Sex on the beach, slippery nipple, etc. You get the point. And I don't really know what he was wanting me to say, but I just kept kind of passing it off and asking again what he wants, but it's like he wanted a bigger reaction. Not a huge deal, but I was severely uncomfortable, especially after he got his drinks and he still didn't want to drive away. About an hour later I'm taking another order, but further down my lane this time, and I hear a huge bang behind me. I jumped and everything, and when I turned to look, this girl who came flying in the drive-thru completely ran over and crushed our valet sign. Rude. This is not a small sign, it's at least 4 feet tall, and it's heavy. I usually drag it to move it. So there's no way she just missed it. She realizes, starts laughing, and then proceeds to pull up an order as if nothing happened. Bitch, you're going to jail. She doesn't apologize or anything, just really bugged me. I hope the police were called. Then, toward the end of my shift, I'm on lane 2. There were 4 people on shift, so 2 inside, 1 on lane 1, and 1, me, on lane 2. The inside people are making drinks. The person on lane 1 is responsible for taking orders and handing out drinks up and down lane 1. Meanwhile, I'm responsible for the same but on lane 2. I take my first car, and I look at the screen and realize lane 1 had taken 4 different orders but in the same car. So I walk down my lane and take my second car to try to even out the screen with orders from both lanes. I take the payment, and as I'm walking back to the register, the lady in the second car in lane 1 starts screaming at me, "Is anyone going to take my order?" I look down to put the coins in, and when I look up she screams, "Effing bitch!" My jaw dropped. And technically, with my position at work, I could deal with her on my own without someone higher up, have a baseball bat, eh? But I couldn't be nicer after that, so I told my coworker, and he said, "I'll tell her we aren't going to service her because that's not how you treat people." Right on. So he tells her, and she goes off about how she can't believe we would do that and calls us idiots and says we suck, then speed off. "Oh no, please, come back. We'd love to serve you now." How else would you guys have handled these? I literally can't believe it all happened within 5 hours. People. And story number 2 today is Retail for Lifers. How do you do it? You don't. I've been at this lovely workplace of mine for 10 years, 11 in March. I've done everything from register to deli to meat to pricing, customer service, shift lead. Shift lead is where I am currently. I swear to God, in my 10 years I can count my call-offs on one hand. If you exclude bereavement days for when my mom, my dad, and my grandparents passed away. Your employers won't. But the other people on my shift... Holy jeebus. My shift is made up of 4 people. We are the overnight crew who stocks shelves while the store is closed. Our job is stupid easy. Unfortunately, 2 of the guys that work for me feel like they do way more than they really do, and they're very vocal about it. I sense a list of chores in their future. Take B-Man, for example. Guy works 2 aisles a night, pulls only those aisles, then gets testy when he's asked to do anything else. Is constantly... Oh, you need to teach this little bitch. He's paid for his time not to do those 2 aisles. Whatever you do with that time while he's in the store is up to you. Is constantly out of his aisle when he should be working freight, saves both of his 15-minute breaks for the last hour of the shift, then spends the rest of the time screwing around, leaving me and my backup manager to do the rest of our list and whatever else has to get done. Calls off once a month religiously, and the aisles that he has to forward face, wavy as hell, always missing stuff, and when it's pointed out, it is so much on this shift, so much jerking around it seems. Do you? Do you count standing there on your phone to text as part of your job? Do you count the 18 trips you take to the back room in the first 2 hours of work? Do you understand that screaming at the top of your lungs when you drop a can is not an Olympic sport nor part of your job? Holy crap, if we were open at night, customers would think this guy is crazy. I have never met him and I think he's crazy. He'll sneeze a few times, then groan like he was just cut off in traffic. Oh, those sneezes will get you though, very sneaky. And that's just B-Man. Don't even get me started on W, guy. You sound like a crime-fighting duo. This guy is dating a chick in another department, and every other word out of his mouth is girlfriend needs this, girlfriend needs that, I can't leave this here, a girlfriend might trip over it. Aw, his first girlfriend. You'll learn. Like, bro, stuff's on wheels so she can move it without tripping over it. Dude even takes his breaks to date check stuff when it's her turn to do it. He's always trying to save equipment for her, and it's like, dude, no, our shift needs that right now. She can get it in 6 hours when her shift begins. Jeezy crazy. Don't get me wrong, woman to woman, I think his girlfriend is wonderful, but holy crap, he acts like she's glass and can't think for herself, which isn't the case at all. I think she's very soft-spoken, but she is very intelligent. Between those 2 fools, and me and my backup manager being told not to scare anyone off, aka don't reprimand for... I'm just so losing my patience. Me and my backup manager have been through COVID times together when we lost everyone we had in our shift. One girl got arrested for violence against her boyfriend. Jesus. And the older manager had to leave because his kidney failed him. And he had a brain tumor. The other older backup manager had his foot amputated. What are you doing to your employees there, for crying out loud? Another guy changed shifts because his kids went into school and he wanted to see them and his wife during the day. Fair. And the last guy left to another higher-paying job so that he could afford decent Christmas gifts for all his kids. This all happened pretty close to each other, and me and my backup manager worked almost every freaking night together during it. Yeah, maybe we're dating now, but that's only half important. Well, at least you're not talking about it while you're at work. I'm about at my breaking point, though. I like where I work because I respect my new store manager. It's close to home, so snow doesn't worry me. But I really think that, honestly, once this next snow season ends, I think I'm out, because you're smart. I don't think I can do this much longer. There's so much more I can say, but I'm 27. It's wearing me down. I don't want to do it anymore. Well, I made it almost 15 years in retail, and I was very broken by the end of it, so get out now while you're only slightly broken, and it'll be easier to fix you. I don't think there's any reason anything else has to change. I'm sure that your backup manager and you can keep dating. Unless the glamour of the job is why you're together. Alright, this one is actually on Substack. 4 Levels of Retail Customer by Tarnished Skies. In my experience, most customers in a retail setting can be fit into a hierarchy of 4 levels based on how exhausting their behavior is for a cashier. Really 3 levels, because partway through writing this I realized the final level is really just everything below. This hierarchy of exhaustiveness may not be the same for every cashier, and it may not measure exhaustiveness at all. Really, it's just a rant based on my experience in retail. I come up with this on my day off, and I'm posting it within 2 hours of its conception. Shoppers. The best customers are the ones you can forget. Not the nice ones, not the friendly ones, not the funny ones. The people with simple requests and a bare minimum level of courtesy. And somehow Americans have deluded themselves into seeing these people as slightly rude, curt. Actually, these customers are the kindest because they are the least tiring to be around. They value the energy of the cashier over their own ego and social gratification. Get in, get the job done, get out. Extroverts. The next most frustrating, next most common group of customers are well-meaning extroverts. These are people who want and expect everyone they meet to be their friend and sincerely assume everyone else feels the same way. It's draining, isn't it? They are cheerful, friendly, and polite enough, although they often lack a sense of boundaries. This group of customers has no grudge against you. That's what they say. In fact, they sincerely want to be your friend. They feel almost guilty for speaking to anyone in a formal or professional way. To them, this behavior seems cold, even when, actually all the more so, the person they are speaking to was never given a choice to speak to them or not. They cannot see that they are actually making a demand of your time and energy that goes beyond what you are required to be compensated for. In some ways, these customers are the most frustrating of all because they are so sincere. They act in good faith. They usually react with disappointment rather than anger, if you do not reciprocate their enthusiasm. As a cashier, it feels almost cruel to see them deflate when you don't respond, as if they are a close friend whom you haven't seen in years. Nevertheless, there are too many of them to make such a response possible without quickly exhausting yourself. Manipulators. After these, we reach the upper level of the deliberately antisocial customers. These customers put on a performance of niceness if they think they can get something out of you. Their disguise is paper thin. They will smile and women will call you sweetie or honey or some other endearing term in an ambiguously sexualizing tone. Men will use pal or buddy, and the tone is less sexualizing and more domineering. Regardless of gender, their basic game plan is the same: put on a mask of friendliness with an implicit threat lurking beneath the surface. The word mask is actually a misnomer here, because for their ploy to work it is critical that the cashier sees through the performance and recognizes the threat. What the threat is varies somewhat from customer to customer, and is often deliberately ambiguous. But fundamentally the question is, do you want the carrot or the stick? Oh, honey, the stick, so I can take it and beat you with it. I expect if I were a woman, these customers would more often be men, and the threat would more often be physical. In my experience, these customers tend to skew older, though a fair share of younger ones do exist. Younger customers are less experienced, they haven't perfected their act, and when they see they are failing to get what they want, they grow frustrated and jump straight to the stick. The bottom and below. If there is a bottom level of hostile customer behavior, I have not seen it. The worst customers are not definable as a category by one action or characteristic. They are each unique and uniquely antisocial. Most common, perhaps, are customers who scream or make threats of physical violence. Oh, I used to love that. No, seriously, I used to love it. They'd threaten to wait for me after work, and they never did. Honestly, I was so disappointed. On rare occasions, their violence goes beyond threats, although I personally have been lucky enough not to experience this. The only violence I ever saw in all my 15 years in retail was they'd take it out on things in the shop. They never had the balls to try on the staff. Then there are child abusers. These customers direct their antisocial urges, not exclusively at the cashier, but at their children. They take comfort, if not pleasure, in the knowledge that the cashier is nearly powerless to stop them. The child abuse you witness as a cashier is most often verbal, as physical abuse is more risky to the abuser, and bullies prefer to minimize the risk of outside intervention. This is not to say that public physical abuse does not occur. Obviously, none of these are explicitly hostile terms. They can just as often be terms of genuine endearment, and their meaning varies based on context. Story number 4 today is Am I on Thin Ice by MacLeod. Hi, I work at a store that sells vapes, kratom, hydroxy, THCA, etc. There is a lot of varying and expensive product that regularly changes in price and availability, so I'm kind of updating myself week by week. I myself am sober of all these substances, only did weed for a while, then got sick. No, try edibles. Not that I'm encouraging it. To be honest, there are several things that make me uncomfortable working there. From the varying legality of some products to the lax enforcement of regulating who gets what, for example, selling crack pipes or letting 18-year-old Marines buy a 21-plus product, there is also no set break time, so I always feel compelled to rush through my food to help the next customer. They're mostly high, they can wait. Sometimes going the day without a break at all. Okay, no, you need to stop doing that. No, that'll take a toll after a while. I had just gotten back from a week away from work, and had seen a new sign that said, "Checkout, 50% off salt." This is where I made a huge error in judgment. I had made the assumption that we were doing a new promotion of selling Salt Nick juice at 50% since we had a similar promotion on different products. It's something I should have asked for clarity on, but at the time it all made perfect sense to me, so I didn't think to confirm. As it turns out, there was not a 50% promo on all Salt Nick juices, just the expired juices within the case that the sign was on. I realized that the arrow was pointing to the case which previously held discount vapes, and not the promo message itself. My manager was looking and talking to me like I was the dumbest person alive. And frankly, it was a really stupid error. For context, 50% off takes nearly $7.50 for each juice bottle sold. Within 10 minutes she had handed me a phone with the boss on the other line, who then listed multiple complaints he had heard of me making with the register. Heard of? You mean he doesn't know? Which had not been made known to me until now, because it couldn't have been that big of a mistake, if any. And he had mentioned a mistake I made today where I almost gave the wrong change. Oh no, you almost gave the wrong change. You're the worst person ever. How could you do that? But that was an instance where I would have easily corrected myself had the manager given me a moment to process. She usually will stand behind and watch every purchase and... okay, I'm thinking the problem might be the place you work rather than you. Every purchase and step in to do it herself, the second I falter. But normally there is no manager at all on any of my shifts. I know it's not just me, and my coworkers have also mentioned that it's like walking on eggshells nowadays. My boss had told me that I've been working there too long to be making these kinds of mistakes. She's right. Start looking for other work. And that I need to communicate more because my mistake had caused a week of lost money. Bet it wasn't your mistake. You're getting the blame for it, though. I was shocked that he didn't tell me I was fired on the spot. But then they couldn't use you as a scapegoat for all their thievery. And between that and how the manager was behaving with me, I was seriously considering putting in my 2 weeks' notice that night. Don't leave until you have another job. Only deciding against it because I haven't started applying elsewhere yet. There we go. I already want to find new work for the reasons above and then some, and it makes me feel pretty sad. I had left a job where I was much more in my element and could have potentially earned more and gotten benefits in for this place. This is my first time working retail. With a mistake like that, should I be counting my days? Look, fact of the matter is, if they're not mentioning these mistakes to you, then they're not that big of a deal. It sounds really like they're using you as a scapegoat for whatever other shenanigans is going on behind the scenes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're the worst retail employee in the world, but also the luckiest one because they haven't fired you for being as bad as they're claiming you are. But it sounds like a hellish place to work. Get out. Wouldn't hurt to reach out to your old employer, see if there's any possibility they're hiring if you could come back if you left on good terms. But you definitely need to be applying to other jobs, and when you have something else, unless you're required to do so, don't even give them notice. Right. Fifth and final story is got harassed for being an immigrant by a customer at checkout. Had a breakdown. Plus Juggernaut 6246. Note I'm not in the US. Me neither. But I don't really know where else to talk about this. I'm currently having trouble falling asleep because of this crap. I got a job in a small store through a friend of a friend. It's run by a married middle-aged couple. There's usually 2 workers in the store, so we do everything. Pack orders, check the stock, clean, etc. Shop owners come from time to time, but now they're absent, 2-week vacation, so we've been left to our own devices. Today a lady came in when I'd only just opened the store, and from the start she didn't like anything about how I did my job. Well, she knows where the door is, right? Started lecturing me in a very condescending manner, telling me she'll talk to the manager and tell him how bad I am, etc., etc. I have a feeling your manager already knows about her. I wouldn't worry. I couldn't hold it in, so I told her, "Who are you? To know how it's supposed to be done? Everything I'm telling you is rules set by the manager." Which obviously only made the situation worse. I couldn't go anywhere else with her standing there berating me. Tried to tell her off best I could so she'd shut up and leave. But in between all the barking, she seemed to have heard my accent and told me to go back to my country. At this point, it had been like 20 minutes of this crap, my voice was shaking, and my hands were very visibly trembling, to which she looked so smug. She threatened me in vague— you know you can ban people, right? If you're running the store, just ban her. She threatened me in vague ways, as these types often do, continued disrespecting me. So I threw the check at her and told her, "And please don't come back, we don't need your business." That's how it's done. She yelled about how we're a free country. Yeah, she's free to walk her took us right out the door, and I have no right to tell her where to go. It's a private business, and she must abide by the rules of the business when she's in there, though. Throughout the entire thing, she said like 10 times that she looked forward to talking to the owners once they came back. Then she left. I started crying. But now the worst part. I was alone in the store, so there was nobody to back up my story. The owners are on vacation and will be coming back in about a week, at which point the lady will for sure try to spin the story to her advantage, and I'll have to defend myself all over again. Retell the story. They don't have cameras? That's a concern. And just hope to God they don't make me apologize to the bitch. Especially because I did answer her in disrespectful— no, I think you were very respectful, and I don't plan to lie about that. I hate this whole thing so much. I hate how I couldn't properly tell her off because my voice was shaking, and she felt like she'd won. And knowing the owners— they all know the owners, but I guess we'll see how that shakes out— they'll be more annoyed that I didn't handle this professionally. They're the kind of people that don't want to be disturbed unless absolutely necessary. And I deal with all of that because I need the money, but today I've been enraged and sad all day. Why do I have to throw away my dignity for this job, toss and turn at night thinking about how unfair it is, and now I have to go through this all over again, even possibly get fired if they believe the customer? I swear if this happens again, I don't care how bad the conditions are, I'll just work in a warehouse with no human interaction. It's so normal to berate people who serve you, and we're just supposed to take it. Nowhere in your work contract does it say you're meant to take it. If you say something completely fair, like, "Get out, I'm not taking this disrespect," then you're seen as the problem, an unprofessional loser, even by your co-workers. That's not how it works most places. I mean, you'll certainly be seen by the problem by the person you're telling to get out, but their opinion doesn't matter. And you have no co-workers at this moment. I'd sooner die than make peace with that kind of treatment. Can't believe I have to work there every day until the end of the month. Then every day I'll keep replaying this situation in my head, dreading her coming back. That's the worst part about all this, that I physically can't just let it go. It'll fade in time, don't worry. Because of how my mind works. And I know how your mind works. Mine works the same. It'll fade in time. And I'll keep wondering when she'll come back, trying to ready myself for the face-off. Well, you've banned her from the store, so you call the police if she's on the premises, because that's trespassing. Don't second-guess what your bosses might do. You don't know what your bosses are going to do. She claims she knows the owner, but like I say, all these Karen type of people say they know the owner. They always think the owner's going to side with them. Now, maybe she's best friends with them and you will get fired. But in most cases, and the most likely scenario, is she doesn't know anybody. She's just trying to intimidate you. She saw you were nervous and she was playing on that. Talk to your bosses when they get back. You didn't mention cameras in the store, so I'm going to assume there aren't, but if there are, the interaction will have been recorded, and they'll see you were pushed to your limit. You are a human being, and human beings can only be expected to take so much before they snap. I did it myself one time when I was in retail at a customer. No, actually 2 times. I chased someone with a broom once, but that was after a decade and a half of stress of dealing with people's bullcrap. I have found better ways of dealing with my stress since then, but everybody's going to snap now and again. Don't think you did anything wrong, so be upfront when the owners come back. Let them get in the door and get a cup of tea or something first. But explain what happened to them. You dealt with this customer. You tried to be reasonable with them. They weren't reasonable. They were racist toward you. You lost your temper because of that. And ultimately you felt you had to ban her from the store. I think they might know the lady you're talking about. I have a feeling that they'll know I doubt you're the only person who's dealt with this idiot before. She'll likely have a reputation. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, consider supporting the channel by hitting the like button on this video, subscribing if you haven't already chosen to do so, and you can also support me on my Patreon page, which is linked down in the description. $1 a month or more, whichever you're comfortable supporting. Just pay what you feel, that's how we like to do it here. Get you early access to all the videos on Monday. I think that's everything for now. I'm still working away on some other things, so I really just don't have the brain power to get questions of the day. As I say, I'm kind of knocking these out at the end of the day now, which is doable. It's a manageable workflow, so don't worry that I'm stressing myself. It's perfectly fine. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.